Happy Aloha Friday, everyone. Back at it again. I got my good friend Dan on today. What's up, Dan?
How's it going, everyone? How's it going, Rob?
Pretty good, pretty good. Glad to have you on. Why don't we start? Introduce yourself, the school you train at, and your belt.
Yeah. So I'm Dan Nagata. I train at Workshop Honolulu / Praxis Jiu Jitsu. So my instructor is Larry from Workshop. And then my partner and I, Scott, who also trained under Larry, branched off and opened up our own gym called Praxis Jiu Jitsu. I am currently a brown belt.
Brown belt. All right. All right. I was trying to think back when we first met. I think I met you first before Nate, or was it the opposite? I can't remember.
It might have been right around the same time because I came to Tang and Tuan's gym and then I brought Nate over. But it was like right around that same time, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. And then I don't know if you saw, I guess, I'm sure you already know, but I saw a picture of Nate at Tang's place last night.
Yeah, he's actually in town. I feel bad. I'm supposed to reach out to him and sync up. But yeah, he's in town right now.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, and I think I saw him wearing the brown belt. So I think he left
I
as a
saw
purple
that.
belt. Yeah. Leveled up, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I didn't know that. So what's funny is I just went to Austin maybe a few weeks ago. So I got to sync up with him. We met up at a gym. But I didn't know he got his brown belt.
Yeah, and that dude's not on social media, so I have no idea. I always wanted to try to reach out to the guy because I mean, I really enjoyed training with him, but he's not on social media, so I have no idea how to
Yeah.
connect up with him.
I'll give you his number. I'm sure he wouldn't mind
Oh,
meeting up.
oh yeah, shoot. Okay, so I guess like we can talk about the COVID time because that's really when we met, right?
Yeah. So I knew Nate from Seattle, right? We train at the same gym in Seattle. During COVID, I was like, hey, I'm just because I'm from here. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna work, because we're all working remote and I'm just gonna, chill in Hawaii. Um I knew I knew Tang and Tuan from high school actually. So we were on the judo team together, etc. But so I reached out to Tang because I saw that they were training at VIP, and yeah, so he told me, yeah, come down. So I came down, you know, got some training in, and that's when I brought Nate over. Um, but yeah, COVID times, it was crazy. That was like the wild
It,
times at VIP.
that was some pretty fun times, man. It was a weird time for Hawaii, but I mean, it was pretty cool to see all those people around there training. Yeah. But I still remember like, shoot, that was what, 5 years ago. Your thing was the honey hole, bro. Every time you'd come in, that's one thing that you would keep working on. You keep attacking the legs, man. You're starting from way back then. It's like, oh man, forget that. It's attacking legs again.
That was like, yeah, that was my leg lock era phase. I don't really do that as much anymore, but yeah.
Uh, yeah, that was some fun times. All right, so let's roll the clock back and let's talk about when you first started jujitsu. How did you get started?
Yeah, so how old was I? I think I was like, you know, 26, 25, maybe 25 years old when I started jiu-jitsu in Seattle. Um, I always wanted to do jiu-jitsu, just because I grappled, since I was a kid. But what's funny is I don't know, do you know who Emil is from Mono?
Yeah, I don't think
Emil
so.
Hero. So he's one of the black belts that teaches there with his brother. I think his name's Marcelo. But I used to wrestle with Emil back in high school. And so he doesn't know this, but I was following him on Instagram. We reconnected one day when I was in Seattle, and I saw that he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So by that time, he was already a black belt. I was like, damn, dude, like, and he was a great wrestler. He was legit at wrestling and judo. And so I was like, damn, this jiu-jitsu thing must be pretty cool. So he actually inspired me to look for gyms back in Seattle. And then, I used to watch a lot. Well, I was a big MMA fan. So I saw John Jones used to train at Gracie Baja. So I was like, you know what? Gracie Baja must be sick. So I looked up a closest Gracie Baja to me, and that's the gym I went, and that was my first experience.
Mm, that's funny. That's funny. Cool. Okay, so you get started at Gracie Baja. Let's talk about the early classes, maybe the first few weeks, first few months. Like, I guess you did wrestling, so you have some familiarity. I guess you mentioned you did some judo, but
Yeah.
what was it like your first few jujitsu classes?
It was cool. My first class, I went to a day class. Um, and so, there weren't that many people there. There were maybe three people. And the highest level at that time was like a blue belt, right? Like in terms of students, not the teacher. So I honestly, from what I remember, I think that first day I actually did okay because, I had a judo and wrestling background. I was able to hold the blue belt down. I didn't know anything, but I was able to hold him down on his back, kind of like in a pinning position
Mm.
for most of the round. So then, like my experience wasn't necessarily like the others where, oh man, I got beat up, right? It was like, oh, I did pretty good, like I feel like I can do this. And so that very first day I signed up. I said, yeah, that was fun. I feel like I could do this. It wasn't until the first night class that I went that I really got to experience what jujitsu was like. I was like, holy shit. People are choking me out left and right. Like I had a sore like esophagus. So someone did like a baseball choke on me and it was like just like really rough. And so my esophagus was bruised for a few days. But that's when I was like, damn, that's my very like true experience with jujitsu. But I've been hooked ever since. I loved it.
Mm, mm. Okay, so how long do you stick it out at Gracie Baja?
Okay, so Gracie Baja, even though it was a Gracie Baja, it wasn't really like the owners weren't really they weren't really bought into the Gracie Baja like vision, right?
Hmm.
Um, so eventually, maybe a couple years in, they actually disconnected from Gracie Baja, and then they created their own gym called Kindred Jiu Jitsu. Um, and then from Kindred, the owner started getting close to Larry's instructor, Aaron, who has a workshop in Portland. And so from there, then we became a part of the workshop chain. So then we're like Kindred/workshop, right? So and yeah, and even though we're a part of workshop, it wasn't really a similar style just because it's not like the owner trained under Aaron, right? It's just that they got kind of close and he really respected Aaron and his teaching style and all that stuff, right? Um so technically in Seattle, like I went through three different gyms, but really it was the same gym, same owner, same school, same everything, right? We just went through the transitional periods. Um yeah. So then it kind of worked out because, not to jump ahead, but at one of the workshop, they do this seminar every year, like a camp basically, right? And because there's one in New York. At that time, there was one in New York, Portland, and Hawaii, which is like, and so
Okay.
everybody would fly out to this one location and they would do like a 3 or 4 day camp, basically. And it was just a way for workshop people to connect with each other. And so at that time, we were part of workshop, right? Or we were just becoming workshop, I guess. We're in that period. And so, we went to Portland, a group of us went to Portland to do this camp. And that's where I got to meet Larry, you know. Yeah, and Larry's like, yeah, I own a gym in Hawaii. I was like, oh shit, I'm from Hawaii. And so we got to talking a little bit. And of course, he's like, yeah, definitely come down whenever you visit. And so that's my first experience with Larry.
Mm, mm, okay. Okay, so I think when you came to VIP, you were purple belt, yeah?
I was, yeah.
Okay. Okay, purple belt. So, okay, so I mean, that's pretty rare that you rode that school out like through all the multiple transitions of name, but you're still at the core, still the same school, right? So then you
Yeah.
come out to Hawaii, and I kind of remember you talking about, yeah, you were kind of a workshop affiliate out there. And
Yeah.
then, did you jump? did you start right off to go see Larry, or were you kind of like looking around for a little while?
I was looking around, so I already knew that Larry was really good just from that first experience, right, of meeting him. Um, and I knew he was good because during his session he was teaching truck. Okay, in the gi, mind you. All right, this is he was still doing gi back then. So he went through a whole system of truck and what we can do from A, B, C, D, and then at the end, he was like, "Oh, open to rolling with anyone." So then he rode with all of the black belts that were there. And he just kept trucking. Like everything he taught, he just kept hitting over and over and over to all these black belts. I'm like, how rare is it for you to teach a whole system and still be able to hit it on like high level black belts? It was wild. So I already knew he was good. And then, every time I visited, um, of course I went to workshop, right? And then my sister's ex started training at workshop, which is just coincidental, right? And so even more the reason why I would be visiting workshop and all that stuff, right? So I already knew how good everyone is, I got like little glimpses. And then also when I moved back, obviously I was training at VIP a little bit, but I need to find the gym, right? So um I went to workshop, and then it's funny because you know, I got my butt kicked at workshop, to be honest. And I was like, I came home and I remember talking to my girl. She's like, man, workshop, dude, they're good, but I feel like they train too hard, man. Like my body's all beat up. But like, I don't know, man. I think they train too hard. And so she said, you should look around. I was like, yeah, let me look around before I commit to a gym, right? So I went all over, and it was pretty cool. Like I went to different gyms, got to experience like the different atmospheres and the talent level, and it was all good. And then I ran into Larry at a Whole Foods. And Larry's like, yeah, you should come back because we're still training throughout COVID and all that stuff. Because this is during the lockdown. It's like, you should just
Mm.
come. I was like, okay, let me just go back one more time. I went back. I got my butt kicked again. Like, my, at that time, I wasn't that good, but I had it in my head that I was pretty good. Right. And so I would go to these different gyms and I do fairly well, but at workshop, this white belt tapped me. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And so that day it was like, you know what? I gotta train here. I gotta
Mm.
learn Larry's system. Like this is the gym for me for sure. And so I just signed up and then the rest is history.
Yeah, I mean, if the white belts are getting you, he's learning some good shit over there, bro, for
Yeah,
sure.
dude. And I was a purple belt. I had an ego. I'm like, and I didn't know he was a white belt until after the round. Right? I go, how long you been training? Oh, I just started. I'm a white belt. I'm like, the fuck? Oh my God, it's crazy.
That's crazy. So because Carter and I first met Larry at UFC, right? He coached over there for a bit, and we took some classes and we trained at him for a little while, and it was all gi stuff, right?
Mhm.
When you jumped into workshop, was it purely no gi from the start?
Yeah. So when I jumped in from COVID, they had just transitioned to Nogi. Um, and they did that because of COVID, right? Like I think they didn't want people carrying the Ds into a
Mm,
gym. You know what I mean? So
right.
technically we were still kind of locked down, so it just naturally went to Nogi and we just never went back.
Because yeah, I'm trying to think if there's other like schools here that pretty much I mean, except for you guys at Praxis that only do no gi.
Yeah, I think we're the only two right now.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
I don't think there's anyone else that comes to mind.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So let's roll back some even further, right? So as a kid, right, were you doing any sort of sports, athletics, or even martial arts?
Yeah, so I mean, when I was super young, I would say my first experience in martial arts was karate, just like every other Japanese did in Hawaii. Karate and Taekwondo, because I'm half Korean, so I did both, right? Didn't really get into it. It was just like a whatever thing for me as a kid. Then I started judo when I was, pretty young. like 8 or 9 or something like that. That was my first experience with judo. So I did that, took a couple years off, went back to judo again. Um, then I hit high school, did judo, did wrestling while I was in high school. Um, and then after that, I actually stopped training for a few years, right? Like as soon as I turned 18 or something, I think my last tournament was like a judo nationals tournament. Um, so that was my last tournament, and then I stopped everything. Like, I hated it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't like grappling. I didn't like doing anything. So I stopped till I was like 26, and that's when I did jujitsu.
So, what lit the fire under you again to get back into grappling?
I don't know, man. It's just, I like I said, I think it was like seeing Emil as a black belt doing jujitsu, and I'm just like, huh, there's gotta be something to it. I was just very curious to see what it was like. And of course I was watching MMA a lot, right? And
Mm.
even though I didn't really understand the grappling as much, like the submissions and
Right.
like even though I did judo and wrestling, when I watched the grappling, I still had zero idea what was going on in a fight. I just didn't have any clue what it was, what the transitions were. I didn't know any of that. I only knew like single leg, double leg stuff, right? So it just kind of piqued my interest. Um, and I think, I just wanted to do something different. I also was doing boxing at that time. Um, so I was trying to get back into this like combat sports stuff. So yeah.
So you did a little boxing in that 8 year roughly span where you weren't training jujitsu or any grappling.
Yeah, I did boxing. I was doing boxing for a couple of years. And then when I did jujitsu, I stopped boxing completely. And then the gym that I was at added a Muay Thai program. And so I was doing Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu for a couple of years. Um, so I was I always liked dabbling in, like striking a little bit. But now I just do Jiu-Jitsu or
So
grappling.
when you're doing Muay Thai, boxing, some jujitsu, were there aspirations to do any sort of MMA fight?
Yeah. So what's funny is I reached out to my Muay Thai coach in February of 2020. And I told him, hey, I think I'm ready to take on like a smoker fight, nothing
Mm.
crazy. And then I was dabbling in the idea of doing a kickboxing fight, just to get more comfortable with the striking, like to force myself to get comfortable with striking. And he said, no, you're really good at jiu-jitsu. I think we should utilize that. Let's do an MMA fight. I said, okay, cool, perfect. But then COVID hit. And then it was like, oh, we'll put this on ice for a few months, and then he'll tell me drills and stuff to keep training, stay fit at home. Um, and then he'll hold like seeker sessions. So again, I will go into the gym with him and we'll do some pads, sparring, stuff like that, just to try to stay ready, thinking that COVID would be over in a couple months. But as you know, it never did. It took a couple years, really. So that just never came to fruition.
You ever? I mean, you're probably past that point where you would even try to do any of that
Yeah.
at this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, kids, there's no way I'm doing it now.
All right. So you've been with Larry for, I guess, around COVID time till now. And then, okay, so what spurs on the idea of you and Scott starting up Praxis?
So, Scott, I consider Scott a pretty good friend of mine. So remember when I was saying my sister's ex started training at Workshop? That's Scott's brother, actually. So,
Uh,
so I met Scott a while back just through my sister, right? And her ex. So, um, yeah, I consider him a pretty good friend of mine. And I know that he's always been interested in opening a gym of his own. Um, and honestly, I was just here to support. I had a conversation with him one day. I was like, hey, look, if you really want to do it, I'm here to support. I want to go on this journey with you if you have me. And I'll do my best to help out, right? He loved the idea, and yeah, the rest is history. It took us a while to find a spot, you know. Um, so we were still training at workshop, and while he was looking for a spot, a couple places fell through. But finally, this place fell in our lap. And so, yeah. So Scott is the main instructor for Praxis. Like I help teach a couple times a week, but I'm mostly the uke for him. Um, so really it's like his gym, it's his vision, it's his style. It's everything about Scott is what Praxis embodies.
Explain to me the dynamics of the relationship between praxis and workshop.
Yeah, I honestly think we're in a great place. Larry was very supportive. You know, I will admit we're pretty close to Workshop. Workshop is in downtown. Praxis is in right by Don Quixote. So you know, by regular standards, that's like a couple miles away. It's not that far
Right.
away, right? Um, but Larry was very supportive. He understood like it was a good opportunity, a good location for us. Um, so he was very supportive. There's no bad blood, nothing. I actually still teach at Workshop once a week. Scott still teaches at Workshop once a week. Um, so we're lucky and pretty blessed that he still has us helping out. Um, Workshop students can always come and train at Praxis. We're not charging them. Obviously, we welcome them. I I don't know about Larry, but I look at them as like a sister gym. Like we're
Mhm.
kind of in tune together. We have a good relationship together, and we can cross training whenever.
That's, that's not, I won't say common, but a lot of times there's some, I don't want to say resentment, but the resistance to
Yeah,
having something like that happen, to have somebody like Larry there supporting you guys 100%. That's awesome, bro. I
yeah.
mean,
I mean, I think that speaks to Larry's character too, right? I mean,
yes,
Larry's
yes.
been to our gym a few times. He's trained with us. He's joined classes. Like to support, especially when we first opened. We'll host joint open mats together. Like so. I really do think it speaks to Larry's character as a person and an instructor.
Yeah, I really respected Larry from the days that we met him from UFC. I know he's a super stand-up guy, so I really like Larry.
Yeah.
So how big is practice now, but student wise?
Still growing. I would say we're about 45, 40 to 45 students deep right now. Yeah. Like, it's
Okay.
crazy because, we're a new gym. So we've been open since ending of December, right? So, just about 8 months or so. And, those are the days that we had one or two people coming through per class. And so it's crazy to see where now, the past few weeks, our classes have been pretty packed lately. And so it's fulfilling to see the growth. And I'm happy for Scott at the end of the day. I want Scott's gym to grow as much as possible.
So are you guys also no gi only?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
I'm curious, how did you guys come up with the name Praxis?
So Scott came up with the name. It's Greek, I believe. It represents the theory of knowledge through practice. So it's kind of a spin on practice. Um, so that's how he came up with it. And I loved it. I was like, dude, that's a dope name. I think we should run with it.
I never realized the Greek meaning of that word. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we really wanted to name it Praxis Grappling, right? Or Praxis Grappling Club, or something along those lines. But then I
Mm.
figured, jiu-jitsu is such a marketable household, like martial art that, if you get the first timers coming through, right, they're probably looking for jiu-jitsu gyms, not necessarily grappling gyms. They won't really understand
Mm.
what grappling is, right? So,
What's the demographic of your students, like, age wise?
oh, good question. Mostly young. Young as in early 20s, early 20s to mid 20s, all pretty new. Um, yeah, most of them are in their like early to mid 20s. I mean, there's a few older people, of course, but most of them are pretty young.
Do you get guys with like MMA background or that kind of striking background that come in to you guys program, or just brand new people that just want to learn
Just
grappling?
brand new people. Most of the time, it's brand new people. Yeah,
Are they so like because you guys are nogi only? I mean, when they come in, are they know that this is what we do and there's no like kimono or gi involved? They're specifically coming for it, or they just like, oh, let me give this a try?
yeah. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, when they reach out, I tell them it's a no-gi gym, which means you just wear the regular workout clothes. Athletic clothes is fine. Um, we just don't really talk about the kimono. It's just normal for us. So maybe when they come, they just think it's normal for them too. I don't know. It's a good question.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, from the standpoint of like the gi classes, of course, you got to buy the gi, so they're not cheap and you got to have
Yeah,
more than one or two after a while. But I guess no gi, I mean, no gi stuff can be expensive too with the rash guards and stuff. Yeah.
it can be, but we're super chill, right? You can wear a t-shirt for all we care. T-shirt and short basketball shorts. That works too, right?
Mm. That's cool. So, all right. So now let's talk about your competition, this competition side of Dan, right? So, I mean, because you're doing judo and wrestling, you're doing competitions in other sports from when you were young, right?
Yeah,
Is
absolutely.
that
Since I was a kid.
is that so, is that something that you enjoy?
No, not at all. I really do not like competing. Like I never did as a kid. So even as a kid, I would have crazy panic attacks or anxiety before my competitions. And it just never really goes away. I mean, I think I learned how to manage it a little bit more, but that feeling really never goes away, you know? No matter how many times I do it, it just doesn't go away.
How do you how do you suppress it, or how do you deal with it and not let it affect you as you lead up or start the competition?
I kind of embrace like the anxiety and the nervousness that I get. I don't try to block it off. I just kind of like live in it, I would say. You know, that's the best way I can describe it. I try not to, because in my mind, like if I try to put it off as much as possible, and then when it comes to game day or comp day, and it just rushes in, it probably would affect me a lot more mentally, right? Because I didn't deal with it in the lead up. So, the week of, I try to just welcome it, embrace it. I don't try to block it off my head. If I think about the match or the tournament, I don't stop thinking about it. I just think about it. I feel the heart rate increase. I'll be in the car driving and my heart rate will increase because I'm thinking about it. And I'll just continue thinking about it, and like I said, I just kind of live in it. Um, Try my best not to block it off. And then when it comes to game day, so it depends. Like if it's a regular tournament, it's just, whatever. I just go with the flow, do my warm up, you know, try not to think about my opponent too much because there's multiple opponents in one day, right? So it's impossible to think about who I'm going to go against, what their style is, right? But when it's a match, like a submission background fight to win, that's a whole different animal, right? That's just not the same as a tournament. Um, yeah. So for that one, it's funny because when I'm warming up for my match, I start thinking to myself, like, man, I kind of get angry and offended. Like this guy wants to tap me in front of everybody, in front of all my friends, my family. Like the audacity of this motherfucker. That's how I like psych myself up.
Mm,
Like
mm.
don't be scared of this motherfucker. This guy's trying to embarrass you. Like you know what I mean? Like the nerve of this guy trying to embarrass me. So I got to do it to him, right? And so that's how I kind of get amped up, psyched up right before my match, and I'm ready to go.
You think the anxiety comes from like worrying about the outcome, or I mean, I know it varies for other people, but I'm just curious, like what, like if you start from an early age, there must have been some internal thing that you were dealing with that still lingers with you to this day.
Yeah, I think it's probably the fear of losing, I think. I hate losing. Um, and I was, as a kid, I feel like my dad put a lot of pressure on me on
Mm,
not training, but winning. You know what I mean? It's different, right? And so I remember, like, as a kid when I would lose, he would say, damn, like, you suck. Like something along those lines. Like, wow, you suck, what's going on? And so, and it wasn't like, oh, you're not trying hard enough. It wasn't constructive, right? It was just like, you suck. And so
mm,
maybe that kind of like gave me that fear of losing every time I competed, because I'll compete every weekend, right? So maybe it just kind of stuck with me. But it's funny because when I lose, I don't care. Like I've lost
mm,
many times in jiu-jitsu, especially, right? And it doesn't affect me. Like, it doesn't affect my life, my world, right? At all. Like, I don't care. When I do lose, I don't care. But it's just that build up to it that makes me care.
mm. I've had multiple conversations about parents putting undue pressure on their kids to to win, right? Not so much to do well, but just to win. And I guess you're kind of an example of what can happen. I mean, it's stuck with you for a long time. I guess you figured out how to deal with it, but man, as a 7, 8 year old kid, that kind of sucks, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I stopped as soon as I turned 18. Like, I didn't want to do any type of combat grappling sport at all. I didn't want to compete. I hated that shit. But I'm glad I found my way back to it, because now it's just a part of my life and I love it.
Yeah, because you have a couple kids, right?
Yeah. So two, and I have another one on the way in November. So about to be three little girls.
Well, good thing you know jujitsu, bro.
I know, right?
Do you have your other daughters doing any sort of sports or even jujitsu?
Yeah. So my older one, she does tennis competitively. She's pretty into tennis right now. She's 10. Um, and then the younger one does jujitsu. Um, I mean, they both do gymnastics and, they dance. And so they do all kinds of stuff, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
the younger one is focused on tennis still, for sure. I mean, the older one,
So
sorry.
so I'm sure that the way you interact with them is different than the way your parent or your dad interacted with you in regards to competition in sports. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. But I'm not perfect. There's times where, like, I crack too. You know what I mean? Like, so there's times where she's losing all her tennis matches, and it's not losing that gets to me. It's like not trying. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like,
mm.
you don't want to run to the ball. Like even if you don't make it to the ball, try to make it to the ball, not just stand there and like look at the ball pass through. Like that kind of stuff would make me upset. And there's days where I'm like, come on, dude, like, what am I doing with this? So, but then I have to check myself. Like, you can't give that same energy that, my dad gave me. Right. So, um, I definitely try to approach it differently, but now she's doing great. She's trying, she's hustling. So I don't care what the outcome is. I don't care if she loses. That's not the point. Right. The point is you trying your best, you showing up to practice every day, doing what the coach is telling you, and you working at what you need to work at. That's what I care about.
So from your standpoint, right? So if I ask you to define success for your children's athletics, what would you frame it as?
Success, I would say, is them loving it, um, and them doing everything they can to improve. Just being locked in. To me, that's a success, right? The outcome does not matter. I don't care if you win or lose. Like the chances of her being a professional tennis player, 0.0001%. You know what I mean? Like, if she makes it, that's freaking awesome. But the chances are pretty low. Let's focus on academics, your education, your friendships that you build from the sport. Um, and let's take the lessons that you learn from doing your sport and apply it to your life. So that's why I think sports is important, right? That the training, the practice, the improvement, the knowledge, gathering. Like all that stuff applies to real life, and that's really what I care about.
Thank you for saying that. That's 100% what I feel and what I tell other people about youth athletics. The chances of them being at the highest level in their sport is almost zero. Of course, you
Yeah,
have Marcus Mariota, Tua, BJ Penn, but that's like one out of like how many, right?
yeah,
The focus on teamwork, patience, resilience, hard work, that's gonna far outweigh any skill they're gonna get from any class that they take, any
yeah.
lesson that they learn. Yeah.
I agree, 100%. I mean, even scholarships are hard to get for college, and it's like, I get it. You want them to have a good scholarship to go to, but, it's a really competitive landscape for any type of sport. And if they get the scholarship, dude, freaking awesome. Of course, parents should do everything they can to push their kids to be as successful as they can be, of course. But let's not be delusional, right? Let's just, they're going to get a regular job after college. They're going to have to make it in life. And so that's really what sports are for, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, you probably see that at the tournaments, the parents are just going off the wall, yelling, going crazy. And then when the kid loses, they're crying because there's so much pressure on them to win.
Yeah.
The fun of the sport is gone already. Just like you said, at the point in time where you can say, I don't want to do it anymore, you're just going to stop.
Yep. Exactly.
You're just,
Exactly. So you have to find that balance. Yeah. And, there's what's crazy is, I mean, like, we can agree, jujitsu, there's no money in jujitsu right now. The very, very, very few may be making a couple $1 million a year. Okay. But
man.
you see parents taking the kids out of school so that they can train full time. Like, what? Come on.
I mean, Dan, you and I are on like totally the same wavelength. I just had this talk with a bunch of people, exactly the same thing, right? I get that as a parent, you want to provide what's best for your kid to be successful in life, but you got to kind of weigh out the realities of what the best can be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can see homeschooling your kid if like the education they're getting is not enough, right? They're just like a genius and they got to push so hard that private schools can't even keep up. All right, that's fine. You got some unique situation, that's fine. But I mean, I don't know if I know it's prevalent like in Southern California, like AOJ guys, they do homeschool. I think I'm starting to see it even more in Hawaii.
Yeah.
That concept, there are, a number of people that are doing it. And I'm not going to tell the parents they're doing something wrong, but you really got to evaluate the reality of what they're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
I
And it's
mean,
why.
10,
Why are you doing it? Is it to make them great at jujitsu? Then that's not really, I mean, like, there's no good reason behind that, honestly. It's just, you know, but if, like you said, if you're doing it because of other reasons, social reasons or, educational reasons, okay, fine. You know, I respect that 100%. But to do it so that they can get the greatest or be the greatest in jujitsus, or you can go to school and do that. Come on. You can train twice a day and still go to school. It's not a problem.
yeah, I had a conversation with a friend of mine and he talked about, like at the youth level, you can be top, you can be excel, right? But once you hit like adult level, it's a whole different animal.
It's
It's just
true.
very different. Yeah. The game changes, right? Yeah, you could be the most dominant kid, but it doesn't always necessarily equate to being the best adult.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And jiu-jitsu is hard, man. It's competitive too. It's hard to make it. And even if you do, you're not really making much.
I believe the best money you can get is from sponsorship, right? You're not going to make,
Mm,
I mean, the Craig Jones thing. Yeah. Once in a while you get $1 million, but how often do you see that, right?
right.
10, $20,000. That's great. But get injured, 1 year injury, a major surgery. What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
There's no
to think that
insurance
you're going
too.
yeah, to think you're going to go through jujitsu without getting injured at high level, pretty
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. It's
very
pretty
hard.
hard. Pretty hard.
Even at a low level. I mean, look at us, man. Our
Yeah.
bodies
Yeah.
are
You're
broken.
right. You're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Especially too, like I I've talked about a lot about this too, right? In Hawaii, the opportunities to compete are a lot less, right? And then the mat time during competition is a big key to being successful, right? The more you do it, obviously the better you get at it. We get a tournament, what, maybe average once a month,
If
you know?
that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then you go to the mainland, it's like every week you can drive to a city nearby and compete.
Yep.
So it's very different. We're
Yeah. So
definitely at a
some of the
handicap.
guys that I used to train with, they would drive and compete every single weekend. They did like 50, I think it was like almost 50 competitions in a year. It's like we don't have that opportunity here.
Yeah, we don't. So, I mean, we were fortunate to have IBJJF come back. So I think that's a step in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so I heard they said they're coming back again next year. So hopefully it becomes an annual thing. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but I think for you guys, the other organization comes over, the 4-letter organization. That'll probably be good for you guys, right? The ADCC.
That would be sick.
That would be, yeah. Again, because for an individual to travel to a competition from Hawaii to the mainland is expensive. But think about a family of 4 or
Yeah.
5 even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes it hard.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, if ACC ever came to Hawaii, that'd be awesome. And I think that would just bring a lot of people to Hawaii in general, right? So like IBJJF, that week we had a ton of visitors come to our gym because they just flew in for the week and wanted to train. So, and I think ADCC would do the same. So even though you're competing with the same people, locally, you're also gonna get an influx of visitors in your bracket. So, um, those are really fun, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I mean, after a while, you get tired of going against the same guy tournament after tournament after tournament. That's all you're gonna see, right?
Yeah,
Blue belt, lightweight or light feather, this age range. You can see the same guys every single tournament.
exactly. Yeah, it's boring.
And you probably see him at open mats somewhere too, right? Like it's like, okay, I mean,
Exactly.
yeah, we know each other. Like, well, big deal. I'm gonna pay this to roll with this guy. Like, why?
Yeah, that's why fight to win is hard too, because they give you the opponents. Is like I'm trained with like almost every single one of them. If I didn't compete, I'd train with them.
Uh
But
huh. You got a match, yeah, fight to win.
I do. Yeah, yeah. Tomorrow, got a match tomorrow.
Yeah, Carter has a match too. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
saw that. There's gonna be a good one. He hasn't
Does
competed in a
your
while, right?
I think the last one was like sub battleground, so like it's probably over a year already.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Nice.
So he's like me, small, higher belt, lightweight. That's just nobody. So
Yeah,
these are the rare opportunities where he'll get to compete on island.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Do you train differently as the competition nears, or like I know some people talk about off season, and then some people talk about not really off season, but staying around 85%, comp ready all the time. Yeah. What is your kind of mindset when it comes to that?
Well, I don't know. I think it depends what you mean by comp ready. Like I train all the time, regardless, right? So it's not like I'm not one of those people that are hit and miss with the training sessions, but then a couple weeks left, I got a comp coming up, then I start showing up every day, right? I'm there every day anyway. So I feel like that's most of your skill acquisition, right? It's just from being there every day, regardless of what competitions are coming up. The only difference is I will say that when there is the comp coming up, so like for tomorrow, the past week, maybe week and a half, um, I up the intensity of my rounds, to try to mimic,
Hmm.
the fatigue, right?
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I don't really look at it as being comp ready or not, right? It's just, do I need to dial up the intensity of the rounds, or
Hmm.
can I just
Hmm.
keep doing what I do? Again, I mean, I train almost every day.
Over at Praxis, even workshop, right? So when you're teaching, I know that, I mean, it's been kind of hashed out a bit, but I'm curious on the teaching style, right? Are you guys more traditional, like show the technique, break it down, drill it, go through it? Or do you also incorporate, like, I guess they call it constraint-led approach, but more like that, where you're kind of just working a technique and kind of playing through it and trying to stress the objectives of the position through active movement?
Yeah. I would say both, you know. I think there's a place for drilling, for especially for newer people, in my opinion. So Scott is really good at, while he's teaching technique, he's not teaching a move, right? He's very good at teaching uh, the concept of said technique, right? Why is my hand here versus here? You know, what am I doing with my right hand? Tracking the knees, for example. Why am I doing that? How do I feel his weight shifting when I do this versus that? So he's really good at breaking it down to that type of level. And I think it's really good fundamentally for people to understand grappling is not just push the head, throw the leg over. That's the technique. No, like it doesn't work, obviously, right? So, so we do a lot of that, and then the second half of that would be like what you said, CLA. So I'm, I myself have been going down the rabbit hole of CLA for the past couple of years. I actually really like it. I think it has a very, very good place in a training system. Um, So we do incorporate that a lot. Is, you know, and for people that don't know, CLA is not situationals. Okay, situationals is like starting side mount, bottom person needs to reverse. You know, like that's basically open rounds, just starting from a specific position,
Right,
right?
right.
CLA is much more detailed than that. Much more. There's many more constraints, right, to help them understand. Right, for us, we use CLA to help them understand the technique that was just broken down to them. So we incorporate both.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
And
I
shout out to Dong what's his name? Hyun Soo, sorry. He's a brown belt under Barrett Yoshida, but he came down and did a seminar at our gym to do some CLA stuff. And you know, we've been really incorporating what he's taught since then. So shout out to him.
I think with the CLA aspect, right, the biggest part is figuring out those objectives and making them clear. Like, I guess they call it the games or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you're
Yeah.
trying to get the people to understand, the behaviors or the mannerisms, the reflexes of what they do in certain positions. Yeah.
It's the hardest part, you know, because that requires so much more research on the coach's part. You know what I mean? Like, I can't just be like, oh yeah, here's the moves I'm going to teach today in class and never think about it again. Like, I actually have to do research on like different games that inflicts, you know, different behaviors and, you know, stuff like that. Right. And then when it comes to the actual practice, a lot of times I notice, oh, people keep doing this, you know, okay, so I need to probably adjust the game to make it more favorable for the other person because the other person keeps getting shut down, right? So a lot of adjustments on the fly as well. Um, so yeah, you know, I see people saying, oh, CLA coaches are lazy coaches because they just want them to do the thing, but that's not true. There's so much more research, so much more attention to detail during the session and trying to adjust always on the fly, right? So it is a lot harder. It takes a lot more work, but I think it's good for the gym. I think it's good for training.
You're right. There's a lot of observation that needs to be done, especially if the game's too one-sided, then you got to adjust it, right? And just keep
Yeah.
kind of refining it to where you can get the expected outcome versus
Yep.
like the wrong person keeps doing the wrong thing and he keeps coming out on top, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of that for sure. But you know, you know, at workshop, you know, with Larry, uh, even though it's not specifically CLA, we've always drilled in a CLA fashion, right? So, you know, Larry teaches technique, but when we drill the technique, it's always semi-live. You know, we
Mm,
don't do static drilling. It's always semi-live. And then the person that's defending or having the technique being done too has to give realistic reactions, but not where it falls outside of the scope, right? It has to be with very specific to what the technique is. So we've always done that. That's
Mm.
always been Larry's drilling teaching style. You know,
Yeah, because I see it too often where it's static drilling. The partner doesn't give the proper reaction and just kind of lame ducks it, and then the person doing the technique thinks, "Oh yeah, this must be the way to do it, right?"
exactly.
So yeah, give an
Yeah,
appropriate response.
and then they do it and say, "Oh, coach, it's not working. It doesn't work." It's like, you know. So yeah, because you weren't really drilling it; you were just doing it on a dummy doll. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm. All right. I guess I'll ask you a closing question. What do you want your jujitsu to be, your jujitsu journey to be in 10 years?
Me in 10 years, man, I'd be glad if I just want to still be training. I probably won't be competing at that time. Focused on other things in life, just as I am now. Like even for Fight to Win tomorrow, I don't, I didn't want to do it, but it's going to be my first opportunity to compete under Praxis, slash Workshop, but like as Praxis as well, right? So I kind of forced myself to sign up. So, I got to do it. I got to do it for Praxis and the team and our students, win or lose, I got to represent Praxis at least once. Um, but in 10 years time, I'll be happy if I'm still training, teaching, so hold on. Yeah. And just, hopefully Praxis is still around and, Scott's much more successful.
So, I mean, I know I said the last question, but you bring up an interesting point about the longevity aspect, right? Of
Yeah.
staying in the game as long as possible. I mean, you train every day and you probably teach almost every day, pretty frequently as well. Are you doing anything to help yourself preserve your body or anything to get to the point where you can keep going much
Yeah.
longer?
I mean, I like to call myself a wannabe athlete, I'm a poser, but I do like, I mean, I do things to keep myself healthy for sure. So with lifting, for example, right? I lift not to be big and ripped, but just for strengthening my muscles and my tendons and ligaments and all that stuff, right? So I lift 3 times a week, sometimes two, um, three on good weeks. My nutrition's pretty important to me. Try to eat as healthy as possible. Um, uh, I take a lot of supplements, so like multivitamins, creatine, turmeric, spirulina, vitamin D, protein shakes, like all that good stuff,
Mm.
mushroom complexes, and stuff like that, right? So I take a lot of supplements, um, drink a lot of water, obviously. Uh, I have a massage chair that I jump on all the time, so I'll use that. If I need to get a real massage, I'll do that as well. The only thing I don't do that I feel like I should do more is like sauna and cold plunge. It's just I
Mm.
live in a condo, so I don't have the luxury of having that. And it's, not only is it pricey to go off site, but it's also kind of a hassle because to drive
Yeah.
15 minutes and, like I'm super busy. So like my time has to be just like, very specific. I have a lot of time windows to do these things.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about the balance, especially you got two kids, soon to be three. You got a full-time job. You
Yeah.
train, you coach. It's not enough hours in the day, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, I wish there were. Every day is just jam packed. I'm just exhausted every night, but it's fun. I won't have it any other way. It's awesome. But like you said, longevity is important, right? So just taking care of your body as much as possible, trying to get enough sleep. Um, yeah. And my one advice to everyone that grapples, and I try to tell our students all the time, lift them damn weights. You know, like that's gonna help you. Like it's gonna help you avoid or minimize injuries, you know? And like the way I lift, it's not bodybuilding style. I don't do chest day, leg day, bicep day. Like I don't do that. I do full body 2 to 3 times a week. Heavy squats, bench, deadlift, so like some type of hinging movement, um, plyometric, box jumps, squat jumps, stuff like that. And call it a day. That's all you got to do. It's
Mm,
nothing crazy. You don't need to wreck your chest in one day or whatever it is they do.
yeah, like functional strength versus like building big muscles. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. What about you, man? What do you do? Because you're still training at this age. What are you, 70 something?
Not quite there, but I'm
Oh, you're
getting
not?
there.
I thought you were. My
No,
bad.
no, I'm still in my 60s, so
Okay,
I'll be
nice.
60. I'll be 60. I'll be 64 this year. But
Oh,
yeah,
you're young,
so,
bro.
young at heart too, man. Yes, similar to you. A lot of supplements, vitamins. I'm fortunate that I can do sauna and cold plunge at my house.
Nice.
Right, I have a massage chair too. Um, for me, I used to lift weights, but I guess my early on, I would go to the gym from like I was 17. So I had that still that mindset like, oh, I just need to keep lifting heavier and heavier.
Mm,
And that was not the right approach because I start to feel aches and stuff. So I dialed back my weightlifting. I try to take naps during the day now since I'm retired.
I wish I could take a nap. That's crucial.
But yeah, I mean, I tell people like most of my strength conditioning just kind of comes from jujitsu. So not like trying to be super strong, but certain positions where I can use some like isometric movements to try to tighten up the body and stuff like that. So that's where I get my conditioning from. It's pretty much just
Nice.
jujitsu. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome, man.
and
I
just
mean,
and
I
just
want to be in
just
my
trying to
60s training like you. That's awesome.
and just dialing back intensity. I mean, I used to train 5, 6 days a week, but maybe in the last year or so, I dialed it back to like three days
Nice.
and a drill day with Carter. So yeah, a little bit less.
Yeah. That's all you need.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Dan. I appreciate you taking time out of your day this morning to chat with me. Um, gonna look for you and cheer for you at your match tomorrow, bro. And hopefully one day I can come by your guys' gym and take one of your classes.
Yeah, definitely come through, man. We would love to have you. Thanks for having me. It was a fun session. It's good to talk story.
All right, Dan.
All
Take
right,
care,
see you,
brother.
man. Take care.
Okay, hang on.